I would probably take an average 1-2 grinder playing his A game over an average 25-50 grinder playing his C game any day.
You're listening to the Mindset Advantage podcast. Each week, you'll get to peek inside the greatest minds in the game and discover what makes them successful.
Mental toughness separates those that can't handle the stress.
If you're going to treat it like an amateur, you're probably going to have amateur results.
Now here's your host, Elliot Rowe.
Hey, Elliot Rowe here. I'm very excited to announce that for the next few episodes, Stephen Baker will be guest hosting the show. Stephen has experience both as a professional poker player, strategic coach, and now a member of my mindset performance coaching world. I can confidently say that Stephen's one of the world's leading experts in poker mindset and performance, and I'm really excited to hear the conversations he has with some fantastic guests. And with that, here's Stephen.
Welcome to the Mindset Advantage podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Baker, and I'm a high performance and mindset coach. And I'm really excited today to welcome onto the podcast one of my clients, Sam Mullur. Sam has gone from playing play money poker to competing regularly at the highest buy-in tournaments in the world on a regular basis. He's a regular now at the Tritons. He won the 25K Bahamas WSOP bracelet for $2.7 million. He's also a regular on the online tournament leaderboards. Sam's a brilliant guest because he is a model of how you can improve your mental game and bring performance tools to maximize your returns at the table, but also, as he'll talk about, how to improve the quality of your life as a whole. So Sam, welcome. Really great to see you here. You've been traveling a fair bit, and I'm really grateful for you spending the time today. I just want you to start by just telling everybody a little bit about your story, because you've had a meteoric rise within poker, but there's a bit of a backstory, and poker wasn't the first thing you did. Once you got of age to do a full-time job, you did something else before. So just, can you give us a little bit of the backstory about you, how you got into poker, your story of your life, in short, up to this point?
Yeah. So, hey, thanks for having me, first of all. I want to add that I've always been like a big fan of the podcast, especially in the very beginning. Nowadays, it's kind of hard to keep up with all the episodes, but in the beginning, I was a very big fan. So yeah, it's a great honor to be here. And yeah, a little bit of a backstory to me. I'm Sam. I'm 27 years old, and I've been playing poker for like 5 years-ish. And before that, I was a pretty passionate gamer that was trying to make it in gaming, but at one point realized that he's not quite good enough. I then had like a very mentally challenging phase of my life where I didn't know what I want to do with my life in general. Came across a guy in London that was running a marketing agency, talked to that guy, felt like there is something where I can create something for myself, where I don't have to go to school and go that normal way that I was very unhappy with at that time. And in the end, tried to run a marketing agency for like 2.5 years. And after that, or during that, actually, I kind of luckily came across poker. I've played before on apps like Zynga and like everyone did for like not real money at that point. But a good friend of mine in a football canteen in a small city next to my home village invited me into their tournament that he was hosting. And it was for like very little money, but I still wanted to perform there. Went there, looked up some YouTube videos, realized that it's like not as much or not just purely luck and more game theory than I thought, and also more competitive than I thought. And then started digging deeper, and from that day on kind of never looked back, and stopped doing everything else pretty quickly and put all my energy into this beautiful game that I love.
So you've come a long way in, 5 years? I'm certainly a long way from playing Zynga poker to playing in Tritons and winning some big trophies. So let's just talk a little bit about your progress. And what I'm really interested in is the big stopping off points, the points where you feel it's not necessarily the wins, although sometimes it will be that, but the points where you feel that you really made big leaps forward in your development. Just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I would say like one thing that comes to mind, because I've been asked that question before and felt like, one big realization was, I would say, realizing that I cannot do everything by myself, or that if I do everything by myself, it's going to take me a significantly longer time to get towards my goals and my dreams. And I at the very beginning, for like 1.5 years into poker, maybe a year and a half, I was kind of just trying to consume as much content as I can, do everything kind of by myself. And didn't have poker friends really. I mean, I talked to randoms in Discord servers, but didn't have like these close buddies that I could actually talk about my weaknesses, my leaks, etc. So realizing that from a pretty early point on in my career, I mean, 1.5 years is kind of, I guess I could have realized earlier, but I would say that was one of the biggest point or changing points in my career, where that really took me to another step, like actively trying to find similarly skilled or even better players that you can regularly talk to, also try to provide value to them in a way was very crucial to me. That's like the first one that comes to mind. Later on, to a further extent, I got to know some very, very good poker players. Fedor is one of them. I'm sure we're going to talk about that as well. But it goes back to realizing you need better players, more experienced players, people, also better persons. Like I was this young kid not knowing how life works, how also money works is something that you learn along the way. So I would say realizing that you can't do everything by yourself and you need other peers and friends to grow faster and better was the biggest one.
Yeah, and I think that is something which is often neglected by poker players. I think a lot of people come into poker, and I think the personality which often drives people to poker is they are quite individualistic, and also the very nature of what you do is quite individualistic. But actually creating that network is so important. And in fact, you've touched on this already, and I'm going to invite you to talk a bit more about it now. You went to that realization, and in fact, the network you're part of now is really world class. Just talk a little bit about that and what it's brought to you.
Yeah, so first of all, I think like when you are in the situation where you don't have anyone around you, how do you get people into your life? I think one, it's either providing value to them in a way. I mean, that's like probably the most important thing. But I also strongly believe that like good energy and being just someone likable, like just trying to be happy with yourself. I mean, it comes from a lot of, it's kind of weird to talk about myself like that, but I try to work a lot on myself, on my inner happiness. And I think that reflects or like puts me like, objectively speaking, I think I'm quite likable. And I think that's some sort of value I provide to my surrounding. And I think that's like very important. When you are in the situation of not having many people around you, try to provide value in a way. And if it's only just being a nice or cool guy or whatever, we also have like a funny guy in our group, then that's also worth something. My group of people was not always like perceived elite. I think it's also not important in the beginning to have like the best players around you. Yeah. Just find people like that are on your level, or it doesn't just expose yourself like to others, go to events, talk to people, be open-minded. I think just good things happen from that. Like if you're just open about this topic and just be yourself in a way, I think good things happen. And then once you start talking to similarly skilled players or maybe slightly better ones, they're gonna have friends, and then and so forth and so on. And then at one point, I think you're gonna have a very good good team of people or just friends around you that can grow together with you.
Yeah, you've touched on a really important point about the sort of group dynamic there, which is to keep it fun as far as possible. I mean, yeah, inevitably studying poker isn't always, it can be difficult at times, right? Especially when you're doing it full time, but actually having that dynamic of they're not just being a link up to just study stuff and like robots, but actually have that pleasure of being in each other's company. It's going to make it much more enjoyable. And that social connection and that enjoyment is going to be valuable in itself. And in fact, one thing we know from flow psychology is that social connection is a flow trigger. So you're going to get better results out of your study if you can find that dynamic within a group. So I think it's definitely worth thinking about when you're forming a group. It's like, hey, can I just have fun with these people as well? That's really valuable. And yeah, as you say, bringing that value yourself, that has real quality over and above the poker analysis that you bring to the table.
Yeah, I also think like one of the biggest things, or like if you think about struggles for poker players, it's a lot of the time the financial part when things are not going well, especially in MTTs where variance plays such a big role. Those periods of time are so much more enjoyable if you have friends around you that you can cheer for. Like if you have a group of 10 people or like 5 to 10 people, no chance like you're all on a downswing. There's going to be something that you can be happy about. And when it comes to that, I think it also really helps. Also these live trips, everything is just so much more enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, I really perceived that when I met up with you and the other guys in Vegas last summer. I could feel the energy of fun and excitement, which was a shared excitement. And definitely something I get from, perhaps some clients who haven't got those networks is a long trip like that can feel quite lonely and it can feel quite hard. But I got the sense from you guys that there was a sort of sense of momentum of mutually reinforcing yourselves. And that's really valuable when you're traveling, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's I'm happy to hear that like even you could feel it. It feels incredible. It's just that's actually what I think makes this lifestyle so much better, like having the experiences you share, the experiences you have, to be able to share them with others is great.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because you've already touched on it. I mean, if you become completely focused on the result when you're traveling, MTT poker, that can be tough at times, right? But if you can enjoy just having breakfast or having dinner with your friends, whatever the day's brought, that's going to be great. So it's really sort of a little example of how enjoying the journey is just as important as the result, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So let's just talk about some difficult moments, because despite what's been a very quick rise from, as I say, from Zynga Poker to playing in Tritons, I suspect there have been some challenging moments in your career. Can you talk a little bit about those and particularly how you overcame them?
So, I mean, in the beginning when I was by myself, I was living with my with my parents still. At this small little room in my parents' apartment, and I was playing there myself, sitting there myself, just not able to share my thoughts with anyone really. I didn't have a mental coach like you or someone that I could fully openly talk about my feelings towards poker as well, because with my parents in the beginning, it wasn't as easy as as I'm sure a lot of people can relate to. So having someone to talk about was something that to talk with about everything. Like my mom was always like somewhat supportive, but I still didn't fully open up about my feelings towards this game in the beginning. So there were some moments where I just questioned if this is going to work out for me. I still always was. I still always just went for it. There were some moments of doubt, but I still just did my thing, quit everything else kind of, and just put everything I had into it in the beginning. But obviously you have some negative thoughts and stuff like that. I had like a very big downswing once from like dropping 700 binds or something. I was pretty conservative always with bankroll management, especially in the very beginning. So yeah, at one point I went from like, I don't know, I never had like a big win in the beginning and then grinded my way up to like, I don't 120K bankroll or whatever. And then over a stretch of like almost a year, I dropped like 700 binds and went back to like 50, 55K bankroll, something like that. So that was like a challenging part. But since I was pretty conservative in the beginning with my bankroll management and was still able to play the games that I felt like I was beating at that time, being like roughly ABI 100 or ABI 80. So I didn't really have to change anything because of the good bankroll management that I had, which never really put me in a mental state where I felt like, fuck, now I can almost not do what I love anymore because of financials or whatever. So I always was, even though I had like gigantic downswing on paper, it didn't really feel like it, because also some other small private victories happened in the meantime. I moved out from my parents' apartment, moved in with a very close friend, and actually still my roommate to this day, moved together with them, went to the Poker Code Grindhouse, met guys like Fedor. So many small, private, very good victories that still put me into a better overall situation, even though my financial situation got worse, made this pretty big downswing still quite a success, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I really like the way you frame that, because in essence, you've described the perfect mindset, because what you described is I was seeing victories in my process, my overall processes, whatever the results at the table were, which is not always, it's easy to say, but it's not always easy to do. So it was great that you were able to do that. And that really leads me, I suppose, to ask you about what the theme of this podcast is, which is the mental game. I just want you to just share with us your own experience of the importance of the mental game and what steps you've used to actually become mentally as strong as you are.
So first of all, I think it's everything. I think to this day, I mean, everyone realizes now, people talk about it, but I still feel like it's slightly underrated. I think it's just everything. And I personally, as I said, in this time frame of my life where I was very unsure what to do, when I realized I'm not good enough to make a living off gaming, at that time I started reading some books, started looking into spirituality a little bit more, tried to understand the brain a little bit more, which humans still to this day know very little about. But yeah, I actually, one thing that was also insanely valuable for poker, I recommended this in the past on another podcast as well, but I came across a book which just is insane towards poker as well. It's called The Power of Now from Eckhart Tolle. Mm-hmm. And this book has a lot of good learnings in there, but like the main thing that stood out to me, which I'm going to get back to this, because this book, I learned basically how to not identify myself with my thoughts, like have this bird's eye perspective about my own mind a little bit. Like in the beginning, it wasn't that clear. I heard it for the first time and then tried to understand it more and more. And not identifying myself with that helped so much for poker as well. So being able to use my mind in situations where I think it makes sense, but also not always listening to the especially sometimes when negative thoughts come up, to just being able to disconnect from them was one of the biggest learnings that I had. That helps me to this day, every day in poker. But yeah, I started reading into those different books and listened to, I don't know, shows and everything and podcasts, whatever it is. And also business related, actually. Like back then I was still trying to potentially like start a business or anything, do something with my life, but not poker wasn't the goal at that time. So all these like very successful people always talked about mental game, meditation, stuff like that. And yeah, by hearing that over and over again, I started digging deeper and realized how big of an impact it had on my well-being, on my mind and my mental health. So yeah, meditation became one of the biggest parts of my life, I would say like 8 years ago or something like that. And that really helped me to be more happy from on the inside. And that again transitioned over into poker where, it's just like in so many things, it's so similar to just life in general. I would say that, all these things help me be a more happy person. And then it helps me in poker as well. But I don't do these things to perform in poker. I just try to feel better and be a better human.
Yeah, and everything you've described, that sort of whole mindset, the Eckhart Tolle mindset you've described, that sense of being present, being able to observe your thoughts. The meditation is a great tool for that. All of this, the benefits are not limited to poker. They will spill over into other aspects of your life. So that's a real win-win. And tell me a little bit about what other steps you've taken to address your mental game.
Yeah, so I booked coachings with guys that did mental coaching, even when I tried to run the marketing agency already. It was a little bit of these guys weren't that great at what they were doing, but I still got something out of it. It was never completely worth less to me, but I realized there are really like good and not so good mental coaches. And having someone that I like, maybe now that I came across or started working with Fedor more closely, and then through the work that he did with Elliot, he recommended you and I think even at the time someone else from the Primed Mind team to us. And we had this call from Barso, I don't know if you remember, with all the guys from our group on the couch. And I've always been, because of my past with trying to like get a better understanding for myself and my feelings, and with looking into meditation and stuff like that, I quickly resonated pretty well with having a mental coach in poker as well. I started working with you right after that, basically. So that was pretty big game changer for me as well. I mean, it sounds like big marketing or anything, or you having me on the show because of that, but I genuinely feel that it helped me in so many ways, and having someone that I can fully open up about my feelings and everything outside of my normal circle really helps. Having a mental coach was one of the other things that really changed a lot for me. And the results are never necessarily influenced. I'm not going to say it, but like once I started doing stuff like that, it more things started clicking. I was more sharp, more prepared. I do all these hypno sessions with you. I have my own MP3s that I listen to before I play live and online, and it really puts me in a great mental state. And it changed a lot for me, and that's like one of a few things that had big impact on my career.
Well, that's great to hear. I have to say, I mean, ever since I started mental game coaching, and actually my first mental game coach, I was lucky. My first mental game coach was Elliot. That was when I was playing professionally, and I still have mental game coaching to this day, and I still find it provides me with value in what I do. It's a different career now, but I still, all the things you say just could apply just equally to whatever career, and I'm finding this even now. So it's great to hear that's having a benefit for you. Let's just talk a little bit about other, performance routines that you use. I mean, we're talking beyond the technical aspects of the game. Tell me a little bit about what you do to prepare yourself, be it online or live, to get yourself into the state where you can feel you are ready to perform your best.
Yeah, so for me, it's really meditation that is like the number one key component. Like when I wake up every day, I start the day by trying to feel gratitude. That's like one of the things that also had insane impact on my life. I listened to this audiobook from Dr. Joe Dispenza. He's like a little bit alternative and not like people hate him, some others love him, but he was I did like a guided meditation for a very long time where he was trying to make people feel gratitude. And this feeling that I had during these meditations, I try to feel it more often. And so every day I wake up and I try to feel gratitude. And that's like not necessarily towards certain things, just this feeling of gratitude. I try to get used to it and try to feel it out of nowhere, and that works pretty well. So I do that every morning, and then I switch over to some breathwork exercises. It's like a mix of I think it's holotropic, the English word. I'm not sure. Like my mom's breathwork, a breathwork therapist. I think that's the English word. And I also listen to. I did the Wim Hof thing for a very long time as well. So it's like a mixture of what just feels right in the moment. So I do meditation and breath work right after I wake up. Then I usually start into my day. At the moment, I don't exercise as much as I would like to because I've been traveling so much. But I think movement is very important for me as well in general. It just makes me feel way better. Especially when I play online, I try to move every day. The online series is something where I grind 5-6 times a week, mostly 6 times a week. And then movement is super important. So I try to move every day. And then right before I play, I do another meditation / hypno, the guided one with you. I did some from Primed Mind as well in the past. But now that I have the personalized MP3s from you, I always do that before playing live and online. And it just, there's basically, after I listen to that, I instantly go into the battlefield, and there's no in between distractions. And it really puts me into that, go perform mode, flow state, whatever you want to call it. And that's mainly my routine before playing. I meditate sometimes in between when I feel like meditating, or if I feel like I'm not present, I try to, there's something, the chakras, like the energy centers you have in your body. I sometimes feel like there's energy stowing, I think is the word, or like, energy is not flowing as much. And then I try to, be more present and try to feel the energy of my body. And then things become more fluent again. And I don't know. So I meditate in between sometimes, but movement is also very important to me. And cold showers is another thing that has been a part of my life way before poker. Also something like 7-8 years ago, I started cold showering and doing ice baths. And that's also been very, very beneficial. I'm not an expert on like what it exactly does. I know it releases like shock proteins in your body that like have very beneficial effects to your immune system. And it just makes you way more sharp in the moment, make the brain fog go away if you're not, if you're feeling a little bit dizzy. So that's also something I do almost every day. But the ice bath only before playing, and cold showers every day.
That's great. And honestly, as your coach, this is all music to my ears, but I knew it anyway that this is the approach you use. I mean, for anybody listening, what you've just heard there is just the emphasis on mental preparation is just huge. And I really like all of the protocols. I also like what you said earlier on, that you said something to the effect of, whatever I'm feeling, you're using these protocols, but you're not using it robotically. Some days you might feel like doing more of this and less of that. And that's absolutely right, because it shouldn't feel like hard work.
Exactly. And I actually want to jump on here. I slightly made I pointed towards what I was trying to say earlier. But I think try when you hear these things. Like, I don't necessarily do these things besides the hypno that I do with Steven. Outside of that, all these things I just mentioned, I try just to do them to feel better as a person in my day after like waking up. It's not targeted towards poker necessarily. And if you try to integrate it into your life on a like, just for you to feel better and not for you to have better poker results, I think then it's also kind of more easy to stick to it, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I mean, it's interesting hearing you talking about gratitude. And incidentally, there are performance benefits to gratitude. It's actually been shown that people with a gratitude practice are more likely to get into flow states. But like the other benefits, I've talked to you about situations which I think for a lot of people might have been challenging. And I've very much perceived that you have a very good perspective on it. It's very positive, seeing the best in people, seeing the best in situations. And that is actually a superpower. It will translate to the poker tables because, as you know, playing MTTs, there's a lot of variance and it's very easy to slip into negativity. But like life in general can throw some boulders our way, but you have that mindset. It's something I've observed that enables you to see things positively, to find a positive, to find solutions as well in a situation rather than griping about situations. So it is the benefits of something like a gratitude practice of meditation go way beyond performance. And you're right, if you simply go there with a mindset of, right, what do I get out of this? How does this turn into good results at the table? It's not really the right way to look at it. It will just come as a consequence of all of that, right?
Yeah, that's really how I feel about it. I don't know. I feel like, when I talk about these things, they benefit me as a poker player, but I haven't started doing them to be, somewhere to be more, when I didn't know what I want to do. Like I had probably had some back feelings of this improves my life in some sort of way, but not necessarily specifically towards money. Like I didn't want this to make me more money, but just to feel better and be better. Yeah.
Well, that's another thing that's really come across to me regarding your mindset is you are able to get into a mindset of, I just want to perform. I just want to be the best version of me. And the results just follow from that. The money just follows from that. Rather than the other way around of, I want to make the money, I want to hold up the trophy. And that opposite mindset, where it's all results oriented, paradoxically makes getting the results so much harder. Whereas if you're able to just say, hey, I just want to be the best version of me, I just want to enjoy this, I enjoy solving the puzzle, which is the game of poker, that actually leads to a very good mindset. It enables you to have perspective and just focus on the decisions.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So let's just talk a little bit about your vision for the future. What does the future look like insofar as you've thought about that?
That's actually one of the downsides of trying to be so much in the moment and not think too much about the future. I actually suck at that. I don't have many goals. I've been asked what my goals within poker are. I feel like, I mean, like establishing now that I've had this rise to the highest stakes, I will try to try to establish myself within this community, have longevity within this industry. I think is one of the biggest success you can have. So outside of that, I don't know. I don't have a real vision. I have started some small projects. I'm helping some others. I'm coaching some people, stuff like that. I have like short-term goals where I want to help other people. But like in general, when it comes to poker, I don't have this like big vision or anything. I just try to enjoy it on the go. And at the moment, it's all I want to do. And I just take every day kind of as it comes. Obviously, I try to be a good teammate as well. Be diligent to my deadlines and stuff. Present value to others, etc. But I still try to take it day by day, more or less. Outside of that, I think at one point in my life, I do want to do something more meaningful in a way. I think poker is great to enjoy for myself, but I think I don't, outside of coaching some people, I don't really provide like a crazy amount of value to humans, to other people. So at some point I want to do more with my life, but that doesn't necessarily mean I cannot play poker at that time in my life as well. Now I'm just enjoying it a lot, and I will keep doing it until I feel like I want to do something else.
Perfect. Well, Sam, I just want to thank you. You've been extremely busy, just come back from a Triton series and just warming up, no doubt, for the next big online series and then Vegas. So I'm really grateful for you carving out some time in your schedule for me. And all of this, I'm sure, will feel likewise. So thank you again.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So many thanks to Sam for giving us the time in between the Triton series he's just finished and the next big online series and then on to Vegas. I hope you took many things from what Sam had to say today, an understanding of not just how to perform well at the tables, but to enjoy the journey in general. So thank you also for being here as always, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next episode of the Mindset Advantage podcast. Thank you very much.
You've been listening to the Mindset Advantage podcast. To get future episodes delivered to you automatically, make sure to subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, or your favorite podcasting service. To get any resources mentioned in the episode or to listen to past shows, visit pokermindcoach.com/TMA podcast. Thanks for listening.